Douglas School Committee meeting to order at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, May 17th. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. First off, we have our student rep from the middle school, Grace Audette.
Hi, my name is Grace Audette, and I'm a 7th grade student council member. There are a lot of exciting things happening around the middle school. First off, in sports, the middle school track and field team is heading to their DVC meet tomorrow at Whitensville Christian School. This meet is the largest of the season, and our team will be competing against multiple area schools at once. There were multiple meets the team has competed in. The members have all improved in their respective events. Many of our athletes have already qualified for states in many events and are looking to keep improving on their personal records. The varsity softball team, which includes students from 7th and 8th grade, is having senior night on Friday against Bartlett. They also had a game earlier today. This coming week, they have a home game against Sutton and an away game against Gardner. The team is improving despite injuries. The 7th and 8th grade boys can also partake in JV baseball, and they're enjoying the experience with the high school members. The band and chorus are coming close to their final concert in Great East Festival. Next Wednesday, they will have their spring concert, and all are welcome to attend. Members are looking forward to next Friday, when they will go on their annual trip to Six Flags after performing at Great East. They've been practicing and improving weekly under the direction of Mr. Cars. The Student Council is sponsoring a lip sync talent show to be presented during the last week of school. We are hoping to get more people interested so we can put on a fun production. Students can do many things and showcase their unique talents, along with putting together a fun group to lip sync. Progress reports went out last week, and classes are pushing through to the last weeks of school. Math MCAS was yesterday and will be tomorrow for the whole school. Students have been working all year on standards, and the last few weeks have been a push to review and refresh our memories of all the skills we've learned. The 8th grade also had Science MCAS, which is only tested in 5th, 8th, and 10th grade. The 6th graders are studying for a cell test in science. They just finished creating the 3D cell project, which really brings the concepts to life. In world history, they're going over South America, and they're starting a 4 types of sentences skit in ELA. The 7th graders took a field trip to see Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief at Hanover Theater, which was very enjoyable for most students. They're finishing up the novel I Will Always Write Back in ELA, and in history they're learning Latin roots. In science, a research project on the animal of the student's choice is taking place, which is helping with critical thinking and problem solving. The 8th grade has started doing the Civics in Action project, where they identify problems in the community and see what they can do to try and improve those issues. Each class has come up with their own issue and are now split into small groups to help come up with a solution to the issue. In science, they're learning DNA and genetics, and in Spanish, they're completing an at-home food project where they have to cook a recipe from any Spanish-speaking country. They will take pictures and create a presentation to show what they learned and how they cooked the recipe. They are about to finish The Weston Game by Ellen Raskin in English and complete an assignment of which character they feel has changed the most. The end of the year is fast approaching, and students are looking forward to Field Day, and the 8th graders are looking forward to their class trip to Canopy Lake Park, promotion ceremony, and the final 8th grade dance. Thank you for your time and have a good night.
Thank you, Grace.
Excellent job, Grace.
Are any of the adults doing the lip sync, or is it just strictly for?
We're working on it.
You're working on adults,
Yeah.
all right. Grace, do you have a favorite who you'd like to see as an adult do the lip sync?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Grace.
Great job.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Good, Grace. It's not easy to come in front of some strangers over here and look at us, and you did a great job. So I congratulate you for overcoming your little, you did a great job.
Great job.
So,
Right.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Next on the agenda is public comment. Seeing none. To the next piece of our agenda, which is the school committee officer reorganization. So at this time, I will entertain a motion for nomination of a chair.
I nominate Heather Moran to be the school chair.
Teresa nominated Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Beth seconded. Any discussion?
Does anybody else want to be the chair? Happy to turn it.
As everybody jumps up and
My
down.
only question is there a conflict of interest with the finance committee? Have we
What do you mean?
We asked about that?
Yeah, I had to do with the state attorney general. I had to do a, what was it, the letter of
Conflict,
conflict of interest.
conflict of interest exemption form, yep.
Okay.
Something, I forget
All
what
right.
it-
Roll call vote for Heather.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder? Aye. Monique Salvis, aye.
All right, with that said, I will turn the meeting back over to Ms. Warren. Thank you so much. I enjoyed my 6 minutes as chair.
All right, moving on to the next subcommittee
We need a
role.
vice chair first.
Oh, yeah, we need a vice chair, election for a vice chair. I nominate Monique Salvez if she still wants to be vice chair.
I'll be happy to
I second.
still be vice chair.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by, motion made by Heather, seconded by Teresa.
Yes.
All those in favor with a roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Monique Salvis, aye.
Congratulations.
And then just a secretary before we dive into the rest.
The next one is the secretary. Julie Mulder holds the position currently. Would you like to say the secretary?
Sure.
So I nominate Julie Mulder to be secretary to continue on.
I second that as well.
Teresa Brooks, our motion made by Heather, seconded by Teresa. Roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Monique Salvis, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Congratulations. All right, now moving to the subcommittees. In your packet, you actually, I think you have your positions. The policy subcommittee currently has Teresa and Monique on it.
I don't mind.
I will continue doing that.
Do we need to make motions for these two?
Yes, please.
So, I make a motion to accept the subcommittee members as they are, Teresa Brooke and Monique Salvis. I need someone to second that.
Second.
Seconded by Beth, and a roll call vote.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye. Monique Salvis, aye.
Heather Moore and I. Next one is the budget subcommittee. Does anybody want to go on the budget subcommittee, or happy staying with the status quo?
If somebody doesn't want to do it, I will step in, but it's up to you guys if you want to continue to do it.
I don't, either way, whatever. I'm new kid on the block, so whatever
Not
everybody else,
anymore, you're not.
whatever everybody else wants.
You could say that last meeting.
If that's something you feel comfortable, and you want to stay,
Sure.
I know.
Do you want to go on the budget subcommittee?
I can do that. Yeah, you've got your name on here 4 times.
Again,
You wanna
I
pass
am
that off
more
to
than
somebody?
happy
I'll
to
do the budget
share the wealth.
subcommittee.
So I've been looking for a motion to put a second, like a motion, well, I'll make the motion to approve Beth and Monique on the budget subcommittee.
I'll second.
Teresa Brooks seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Monique Salvis, aye.
All right, sweet.
I can't read lips.
I just didn't know if I technically could vote for myself.
You
I mean, I did.
You can, we already did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, next is
Kind of
negotiations.
Endorsement.
confirming, confirming, yeah.
Next is negotiations.
Does anybody want this?
I'm happy to stay on negotiations because I have the history.
That's something I want to learn about. If
You
you
are-
didn't want to do it, I would like to learn about that
I
stuff.
would be happy to pass that on to you.
Are there negotiations this?
Oh, there's tons.
For next year, we have 3 expiring. We have DESPA, we have cafeteria, and we have custodians. all
We
next
take
year.
us at cafeteria
Those aren't like
custodial.
Paraprofessionals and
Oh,
ADs.
okay.
Yeah, so we take care of the,
Yeah.
yeah, so it'll be the DESPA one. And then the year after will be the.
Teachers.
Although we couldn't really start it.
Let's do one step at a time.
I make a motion
Yep.
to put Heather Moran and Beth Bergstrom on the negotiation subcommittee.
A second.
Seconded, motion made by Monique, seconded by Teresa. Roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Monique
Teresa.
Salvis, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Heather Moore and I. All right, sweet. See, we shook it up a little bit. All right, signature for payroll. Beth, do you still want to continue?
I don't mind doing, I know we're talking about payroll. I don't mind doing the payroll. I just feel bad, like with the accounts payable, there's a lot due to conflict of interest that I can't sign, and I feel, it's working, it's not working, but I just feel bad if I'm ever putting the business office like behind because I can't sign.
No, it's not, because we've been bringing them too. And then sometimes even Heather was able to come in if I'm
I
around.
just come in with my little
Yeah.
swaggy thing in.
Yeah, and if not, I bring them like I did this evening. Yep, so it's been working, I mean, from our point of view, we feel like it's working very well.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel
Yeah.
bad for the girls if I don't want to.
Oh, no.
At town hall and stuff
No,
like that.
no,
so.
there's no complaints with any of
I
that.
could be in touch with it.
Okay, so I can keep doing those too, but I know we have to do one at a time, unless somebody else wants to do them.
The only thing about payroll is that's got to be done sometimes during school hours.
Okay, then I cannot.
So that's
I
the
cannot sign
only,
during school
so,
hours.
I mean, that's the only one
Okay,
that's
that's
really,
fair.
if they have an emergency type of situation, and so that's the only key, the accounts payable one, very rare. Like I said, I can swag in, so I don't mind.
Okay, as long as it's not, I just don't want to be difficult for anybody, that's all.
No, absolutely not. There's no
I
difficulties.
think we've
no.
figured a way forward with the payroll and
worked, yeah, it's
accounts
been working.
payable. It's been
working
working very
we
well.
appreciate it.
So,
Yep.
so I'd be looking for a motion, not a motion.
I nominate Beth Bergstrom and Heather Moran for sign for payroll.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Monique. Motion made by Teresa, seconded by Monique. Roll call vote, please, for signatures for payroll.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Monique Salvis, aye.
Heather Moore and I. Next is accounts payable.
Sure, I'll keep doing that.
I don't mind doing it either, unless somebody else wants to do accounts payable.
Does that have to be done during?
They have good candy in the candy jar.
Is that during school hours?
You can
as
get
well? School hours? Okay.
Some of it's during school hours. I mean, there are ones, like, we work it, right? So, I'm an equal opportunist as somebody else, but I don't mind. I mean, we have a good system between Beth and I, we have a good system, so. So if no one's gonna want to, I'd be looking for a motion and then a second, please.
I nominate Beth Bergstrom and Heather Moran for accounts payable.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by
Monique.
Monique. Roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Monique Salvis, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
And if you don't mind, I just want to remind everyone too that at any time at all, anyone wants to come in and look at the accounts payable warrants, you're absolutely welcome to at any time.
Yep.
I just want to make that reminder, that if someone was thinking of that because they wanted to kind of see, you always at any time
Yep.
can do that.
You can
Yep.
even look at them when they're here. So, the next one is the health and wellness.
I don't mind staying on health and wellness.
Julie, do you still want to do health and wellness?
This shouldn't have opened this.
Let's hear up. Yes, please.
All right, sweet. So I'll make a motion for Julie and Teresa for the health and wellness committee. Need a second?
I second.
Seconded by Beth. All those, a roll call vote, please.
Beth Bergstrom, aye.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Julie Mulder, aye.
Monique Salvis, aye.
Heather Moore and I. Sweet.
All our subcommittees taken care.
Yay. We did shake it up a little bit. That's good. Is there anything else we need before we move on to turning it back over to discuss any old business?
No old business.
We're on to new business. Superintendent's report, please.
So, one thing on here, one thing that isn't. First thing is selecting a date for our summer retreat.
Yep.
I reached out, and the week of the 24th, the week of the 31st, or the week of July 24th, July 31st, or August 7th, thinking roughly from 9 to 1, 9 to 2 for a time frame. So just looking for a date that we can mutually agree upon, and
Can you say those dates again? I
the
know
week
you
of
sent them out.
July 24th,
Yep.
okay? The week of August 31st,
Or July 31st.
July 31st, and the week of August 7th.
The 31st is a no-go for me.
I can't do the week of the 31st.
That's easy.
That's easy. What about the week of the 24th?
I
The
could do that.
24th was good for me.
Yep.
Which of the 5 days?
I could do any day on the week of the 24th.
Tuesdays and,
We have to video you in?
But, yeah,
You can video
I
you.
tried that last time when I totally was not even available.
I can't do the 28th.
I know.
You can't do the 28th.
Yeah.
What'll
that's
work.
fine.
Do the
Whatever, I'd
25th?
rather
That's a
be
tough one.
whatever.
Can you
works
do the
for
25th?
you.
Yeah,
I can do the 25th.
How does the 25th sound?
How about what?
The 25th, July 25th.
That's a Tuesday,
That's a
correct?
Tuesday, the
Tuesday.
25th.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday's my worst day out of the entire week. That is my,
Can you do Monday?
I can do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but Tuesdays,
How about Wednesday, the 26th?
that works.
I can't. Again, just do it yourselves if it works out for everybody else.
So we're down to Monday, the 24th, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, the 26th.
I can do either.
Let's
Oh,
do
it's all-
Monday.
Okay.
So which one?
Monday, July 24th.
Monday, July 24th, okay.
Perfect. Thank you. The other thing that wasn't on the agenda that I'd like to add is just an update on the special education director. I didn't know if we would have the names ready and a process, so we have a little bit more information. So I just want to go through what's happened, where we're at today, and what next week is going to look like. So NASDAQ, as you know, ran the search, and the committee met 4 times. First 2 times, what they did is they took information from the survey for what people were looking for in a candidate, and they took the information from the staff and community forums, and they created a candidate profile. What's Douglas looking for in a special education director, based off the information from the survey, based off the information from the candidate forum. Then what they did is they used that information to screen the applicants. So they knew what they were looking for a candidate. They looked at the applications. Did they match? They also used that to create the interview questions from it. So those were the first 2 meetings. There was 12 people that applied. 6 had interviews, and they interviewed Monday and Tuesday of this week. There were 4 names that were forwarded to me from the committee as finalists. I met with, so before that, I know there are 2 people here on the committee, Teresa and Beth. Thank you for your time. We had 2 teachers on the committee. We had Lois. Cindy Socia ran it. So looks like from what Cindy's told me, it's a good process. 4 meetings, I know it's a long time, but from what Cindy said, things went well. And the purpose of that screening committee was to forward 4 names on to me, which is great. So I appreciate the time the screening committee took. Mike Palladino, who's the representative from NASDAQ, called all 4 of the candidates today. Told them they were finalists, told them what the salary range was, asked them if they were still interested in it, asked them if they were still, if the timeline worked, and 3 of the 4 finalists said, yes, we're still interested in going forward. One of the candidates backed out. Candidates right now are spending today and tomorrow morning letting the districts know that they're finalists before we release their names publicly. So we have that information for the 3 finalists. Tomorrow, what I'm going to be doing is sending in an email out to the community and to staff, letting them know who the 3 finalists are and a brief bio. We have some great people. We don't want to lose them. So when I tell you the timeline of what next week's going to look like, you're going to say, Paul, you're crazy, but I want to move fast not to lose anyone.
We've done it before, so, I mean,
So,
We've done it before with you.
Yeah, right.
You can't wait.
you can't wait.
can't.
We snapped up.
They
and
can't.
that's the reality that
So-
we
It
live.
is, oh, it sure is.
So what we're going to do, and what we've always done, is we're going to do a staff Zoom introduction, and we're going to do a community Zoom introduction. Each of those will be 30 minutes in length, and those will take place Monday and Tuesday. One from 6 to 7, one from 7 to 8. That'll go out with the links tomorrow. Attached to that will also be a survey, so people will be able to, after they listen to the candidate, provide me feedback in a survey. I take that information from the survey and from the meet and greet to craft some of my questions for the candidate and also to ask as part of my reference checks. So we're going to do that on Monday and Tuesday from 6 to 7 for one candidate, 7 to 8 on the other. On Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., the finalists, three finalists will be meeting with myself and Ms. Keegan. Right. So the people who do the Zoom on Monday, Courtney doesn't know this yet. So I told you to move fast. So the people who we do the Zoom with on Monday will meet with myself and Ms. Keegan on Tuesday, and the people who do the Zoom on Tuesday night will meet with myself and Ms. Keegan on Wednesday, either at 11 or at 2. I have NESDEC doing the first round of reference checks, and I'll do the second round of reference checks. The hope is to have that last interview done by Wednesday, and probably the end of next week, maybe Monday, Tuesday of the week after, offer someone the position. So we have some great people, don't know if they're interviewing, don't want to lose them either. So we're going to do everything Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, reference checks next week, with the hope of Friday or Monday, Tuesday of the week after, offering someone the position. And then with that timeline, it gives them a full month to give their current district notice to start here on July 1.
Yep.
So that's where we're at with the search. I got a copy of the resumes this morning. I've scanned them briefly to take a look at who the finalists are, where they've worked, get a little bit more information. So I dove into that for a little bit today. I'll spend more time tomorrow looking at it, but this was my first pass through it, who the finalists are. Spoke to 2 members of the committee, Cindy last night and someone today, just to get some feedback as to, actually 3, I spoke with Teresa on the way up. So 3 of you, just to get some information as to, what their impressions were on the 3 finalists. And there's a common theme that goes on, so.
I do think we got some really high-quality candidates, and I'm happy with the people we forwarded.
Oh, good.
So it was a good process.
Good.
And thank you for being part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like it's money well spent, and I think that's a good thing to
Yeah,
hear.
absolutely.
I mean, it's been great from our end to have someone else.
Hands off,
Right.
yes.
Run it, but also just,
For many reasons.
for many
Many
reasons.
reasons.
But they've been great, they've been advertised, they did the candidate profile, they did the questions, they organized everything, they're helping with the reference checks.
They really
so-
worked with the committee to,
Yeah,
he
they're very
was great.
professional and,
high-quality candidates,
Yeah.
questions, everything. I think it
They did a
went
good
really
job of keeping us on track, too.
Yep.
I feel like, too, like when we started kind of going, well, what about this? They're like, let's focus on this. They did a really good job.
yeah, they did
I-
a good
And I
job.
don't want to go off focus, but out of curiosity, would they run a search for, like, other positions in our district?
Run a search for anything you'll pay them to run a search for. So they run searches for principals, for assistant principals, for special education directors, for superintendents. They'll run a search for anything you pay them for. But typically, they're doing leadership position searches.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
I also have to say thank you for being patient, because I know it's hard to sit back and be like, oh, who are they interviewing? Who are the people? But,
When you got in your car and drove away.
They came, the interviews were at 4 o'clock.
he said, okay, I'm
People
out.
showed up at around 3:30. I left the office at 3:40. I don't know what you did. I noticed the height of my chair was changed today. I don't know who sat in my chair,
We shall never tell.
You never
You
will
know?
tell.
And like we all have our spaces at work, so we know where everything is. So I knew when the chair wasn't in the right spot, and there were some things angled,
Lots of
ways
coffee
I
cups in
typically
the
don't
garbage.
angle things. I'm like, I think someone was here. Then when I sat down, and like the table was like this, I'm like, all right, someone was definitely in my seat last night.
You did also notice they didn't want to stay there.
Correct, they moved. So, that's it. So hopefully, like I said, end of next week. The reality is, if we do that last interview, they're at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I'm looking to have them run about 2.5 hours. We'll finish up Wednesday at like 4:30, do some reference checks Thursday and Friday, probably more likely than not, the Monday or Tuesday after the weekend, yeah.
That's great.
Monday's Memorial Day.
And Monday's Memorial Day, yeah.
Or Tuesday.
I think sometimes for positions like this, people aren't,
They don't care.
they don't mind if you call them on a Saturday with good news.
No, I'm
That's all
glad
I
to
have.
hear that it's good feedback. Hopefully the community appreciates what we all are doing and being very transparent about this. All right.
Small.
Anything else, Dr. Vera?
That's it for tonight.
Okay. Over to the school committee, subcommittee report, the accounts payable report. I believe this is the one that I came over and signed.
Ma'am.
So I signed a warrant 43CH23 and warrant CHHL23 in 7 batches in the amount of $201,173.40. And there were nothing out of the ordinary on these. Next, I did warrant 42SCH23, warrant SCHL23, and warrant 42 Meals 23, for a total of 12 batches in the amount of $72,568.51, and there was nothing out of the ordinary with this one either. And then I did warrant 45 SCH23 and warrant 45 SCHL23, a total of 11 batches in the amount of $139,002.39. Nothing out of the ordinary with this one. And finally, last warrant, 46 SCH23 and warrant 46 SCHL23 in the amount, 5 batches in the amount of $74,166.86, and nothing out of the ordinary with this one as well. Next, moving on to the consent agenda, if we could review the April 26, 2023 meeting minutes. Nobody has an issue, I'd be looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the April 26, 2023 school committee meeting minutes.
Motion made by Monique, seconded by? Second by Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thanks. Next on to approve the updated FY24 general fund operating budget, which is this piece of paper here.
Yep. So we did update the budget. So basically, the main change from the prior one that was approved at the April 5th public hearing, for the difference, for the reduced appropriation amount, we just took it out of school choice. So that's the only adjustment that was made. I had to go through a number of different lines. So we did approve on April 5th, $15,065,318, which was net of offsets in the amount of $3,407,918. And as we stated before, we were notified just prior to that public hearing that our appropriation number was actually going to be $14,721,424, and that equates to a 0.78% or a $113,335 increase appropriation year over year, from the FY23. So in order to come to this reduction, we are using more school choice funds, bringing our budgeted use of school choice from $1.4 million that we previously had in there, the public hearing, to $1,843,894 in FY24. But we are meeting with the town administrator and the finance director, town accountant, to see if we can work something out to bring and propose at the November special town meeting. I feel confident that we will come to a resolution, and also we will be meeting with the finance committee sometime in June to update them on the progress of our coming to a resolution as well. So I did provide, Jean just would like an updated vote, so I did provide some motion language there. I didn't know if anyone else had any other questions.
Are we going to get an update on how those meetings are going?
So
We
we had
haven't
one
really gotten
scheduled-
too many details on
Yeah, there isn't it, because we only have one.
There isn't anything since the last one.
Yeah, one
So
quick meeting, yeah.
We had 2 meetings, which I updated you last time. We had one scheduled for last Thursday, but there was someone in town hall had their parent pass away, and they closed town hall to go to the funeral. So we're rescheduling the meeting. I believe it's for Monday.
It's going to be for Monday.
Of next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there isn't there would have been an update
Yeah.
tonight had we had that meeting on the
Right.
10th.
We haven't had another meeting
But
yet.
because they closed town
Yeah.
hall on the 10th,
Yeah.
we were scheduled for next Monday.
So I know, I'm looking at Courtney, and she's confident, so I'm trying to figure out, what's,
Because we felt like we were confident before.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
what-
are you wondering what's,
Because we're using school choice money, which normally is a point of concern.
Oh, no, absolutely, Monique, it is absolutely a concern, and I want, everybody agrees with that, absolutely.
Because before trying to get 700,000 from school choice, we were stretching then, and now we're stretching even further, but everybody looks relaxed about it.
Oh, no, we
no,
didn't,
no,
oh,
no,
no,
no.
we actually had reductions. We had a lot of reductions, and we did increase school choice to some extent. But then this additional 333,000, you're absolutely correct, Monique. That amount in the grade increase, and I did state it before, and I will state it again, I don't mind stating it publicly, I stated at the Finance Committee meeting, it does put us in a precarious position for not only FY '24, for anything that might come up that we can't know in advance, and we need to be able to respond accordingly and be able to take care of things, which happens almost every day. But that being said, I feel confident, I think, based on what transpired, the reality and facts behind what transpired, I feel the Finance Committee is also behind wanting to come up with a resolution, and also, I believe that the town administrator also stated that he was looking to come up with a resolution as well that will be presented at the November special town meeting for an additional appropriation. What that exact amount is, we don't know, but again, in further talks and looking at things, I'm actually kind of glad it was put off a little bit, because I did create a whole document and kind of formatted it, categorized categories, so that it would be more understandable about exactly where pockets are, exactly what, and it definitely is the DTA contract in fixing the grid. It clearly shows that. So that'll be, be very clear and evident with regard to that. And in addition, we've had, as I've stated before, a number of unexpected things come up this year, which of course aid into our school choice. Now, that being said, in the interest of full disclosure, we've had some other, maybe some vacancy savings and things, so how that all balances out at the end of the year, we need to, that remains to be seen. But we definitely are in a precarious situation, not only for '24, but I'm looking also prospectively in '25. Because we utilize, as you all know, school choice to a large extent to offset our gross needs operating budget. And also, beginning in '25, we're going to have 3 contracts that were negotiated. And then we'll begin negotiations on DTA. So we need to put ourselves in a good position. So we have a lot on our side with regard to what is actually transpiring. Also, the world out there, as you know, on the town side, they made it very clear, and they stated that in order to obtain and retain quality staff, and that's 84% of our budget, you need to be able to pay them, or we're not going to have a school department. I mean, I'm not trying to sound, but we want to and we need to obtain and retain quality staff. And unless you're willing to pay them, you're not going to have them. They're either not going to come here or they're going to leave. So that's another thing that, looking prospectively, and as you all know, the superintendent and I have worked very hard, not only in the contract negotiations, but also with the non-union staff, to try to work incrementally to have that happen, because we want the same thing, not only but for stability too. If you've got somebody that's working there for many years, they're doing a great job, they have the institutional knowledge, you want that to remain. That's extremely important as well. But I do feel, and you know me well enough to know, I'm not going to say I'm confident if I'm not confident. If you all know me, I'm sure you do, I would be more like this, having a hard time coming out with the words, because I can't say something I don't feel.
I think I would just feel better, like, having some more information, but obviously there are things that are up in the air, and, perhaps by the time we have our next meeting, you'll be able to share more concrete information.
Sure,
with us.
so-
No, yes, and actually, what I will be able to bring at that meeting is a document that I'm working on, so that you'll see what we presented to them as well, because we'll be presenting that to the Finance Committee. And I do like to have things come and be shown to the school committee before they actually go to the Finance Committee as well, so, and then you can kind of see what we're looking
Before going
at.
into the summer, I'd just like to have an idea of
Correct.
what we're going to start with next year.
If you go back
Yeah.
to the meeting, which I think happened the end of March, with the Finance Committee, there was a commitment there from the Finance Committee and from the town administrator to help fix that 333. I mean, it was done on national television. He agreed to it. We agreed to it. The Finance Committee agreed to it. We agreed to get together and have that conversation. We've had 2 meetings. Just kind of go through some ground rules and get some understanding of some things. The big meeting was going to happen last Thursday, but again, unfortunately, someone had a passing in their family, and we had to do it. So that's rescheduled for the 7th. We're going to the Finance Committee, I just looked, on June 27th, that Tuesday, where we're going to
Well, that's
present.
been confirmed? Because
It has
it
been
was one of
confirmed.
2 days.
It was that confirmed, yes.
Finance committee
Okay.
date.
Yeah, that we're going on the 27th to present the information to them, with what the plan is. I agree with you. I really don't want to see this playing out into July, August, because you know what happens. I'd love to have this finalized. So we're going to meet with them on Monday. I believe our next school committee meeting is June 7th, where we should be able to provide a further update.
Yep.
Can I just ask a question from my own knowledge?
Sure.
Of course.
What happens if we don't get school choice students? Do we have like school choice money somewhere? Because,
If you, we use school choice, so a lot of districts use school choice to supplement and add things to their curriculum. We're going to buy technology with it, we're going to buy programs with it.
but we
We're gonna-
use it to operate.
We use it to
We have to.
operate and
We have
fund.
to, just to
So,
stay
to,
open.
to go all the way to one
know,
extreme, if we didn't have
Yeah.
school choice students,
Oh.
we'd be closing our doors.
Yeah, really.
And based on what's
Yeah.
going on in area towns, I don't think that's going to be an issue next year. I could be wrong, but
I think if you're reading the tea leaves, yeah, I think we might get inundated.
yeah.
There's a lot of, locally, there's a lot of schools who have pink-slipped teachers because overrides haven't passed, and,
And communities that are not happy with what's going
Yeah,
on
what's
with their
going on
school
in the
districts
schools.
as well.
Yeah, it's a nightmare right now in some
it's,
area towns.
there's some stuff going
Oh.
on. But to your point, absent that school choice, we can't fund $3 million of our, $2 million of our budget.
We don't get that in school
We would have
choice.
to close our
No.
doors.
And I know I'm gonna say this wrong, so Courtney, I don't mean to say it this way, but in my mind, like, is school choice kind of money that sits somewhere, not like I guess
I'll
I'm,
let Courtney answer that.
do you know what I'm trying?
You have to have a rainy day fund.
Okay, like, I guess the revolving funds versus the school choice money.
Well, that is a
I'm still-
revol- that's a
So the
revolving
school
fund,
choice
though.
money goes into the revolving fund.
Yes, it does, yes.
And the revolving fund, I'm saying this wrong, and I know I'm saying this wrong, but the way I'm comprehending it is it's almost like an account that's there in case you need to pull from it, is what a revolving fund is. Not on a very basic understanding level.
Well, and I don't know if I'm understanding what you're saying
You
correctly, but,
understand what I'm saying, Paul?
I do, yes.
but
She
that,
knows that there are things that are going to come out of that revolving fund. She knows what's going to come out of that.
She's already laid in there.
Yeah.
what we
Okay.
So
think
some
for the
school
budget
districts
schedule.
will use that revolving fund to say, we want to send kids on a field trip, so we're going to use that. We're going to use the revolving, we're going to use school choice to, all of our overhead projectors, we do. We know that we're using school choice funds next year to fund, and we have a list of,
well, it
Paper
offsets our
towels.
operating
It
budget.
offsets our
It
operating-
It offsets,
it
it's
offsets-
different lines depending, I start with the largest lines first, because it does operate. It does operate differently here from everywhere else I've been, because of the appropriations that we get each year. The increases are so small that when I worked in, another community, we used to, the superintendent, we prepared the budget, we went downstairs to town council, and we got every single thing that we needed for our budget. Went back upstairs and we implemented it, and that was it.
but to your point,
But
if
it's just different here.
if tragically,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, 7
Yeah.
computers crashed, and we needed to go out and purchase 7 computers, there's a likelihood that would come from school choice funds.
Okay.
And I do end up buying, like, throughout the year.
Yeah.
I do end up buying, because we certainly don't bring it all the way down, because I have to have some contingency. You know that sheet that I give you with the
She
history?
keeps a buffer.
And then I have that contingency line. It's just for keeping that in mind. It's not like it's a real, but things come up all during the year I need that school choice account for. And that's why I said it's kind of precarious to be bringing it down that much, because it really is, that's not a good thing.
In Courtney's defense,
Yeah.
she's come a long way with school choice.
No,
because
and I.
long way with allowing us to.
Yes.
So, I mean, if her level is, we don't want it to be dependent upon that. Like,
Right.
we don't want to bring it down to nothing, but it's a quasi-comfortable level.
Well, not where we are now.
Correct.
Yeah, where we were.
Where we were.
Yeah.
But to
Yeah.
keep going back to that kitty and keep borrowing from that kitty,
it
that's
disappears
not
eventually,
sustainable.
right?
Yeah.
That's, at the end of the day, that's it.
Because it sets you up in a precarious situation for the following year, only because we have to have it for our budget.
And
That's the
like,
thing,
And
you know.
transferring that into like a mom budget or a household budget, that would be, I know it's not this, but it would be the same, it would be the same as me going and grabbing money
The
to
coffee
pay.
can that mom had
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah,
So I'm getting
Coffee
it.
can.
That, I just wanted to make sure, yeah, thank you.
yeah, but it is a very, we've never been this low before.
Okay.
And expenses are only going up.
Yes.
And then we know that going forward, things have changed too, particularly since, I hate to use that word, but, the last 3 years. The dynamics have changed so much out there with regard to staffing, and that's 84% of our budget. And even on the town side, this is the same thing, that going forward, that is a little bit of a landmine. I don't know how else to put it, so, yeah.
No, I think like for people that like, or watch, I don't know, whoever would listen to us on YouTube or wherever, we say things like revolving funds and this and that, and to, I think, typical citizen, that's language that doesn't make sense.
To 98% of people who don't do this.
Yeah.
You know what I
Doesn't
mean?
make
So
sense.
that's why I like to kind of ask some of those questions, because there is going to be that person that's going to say, well, where did that money come from, or where? And we know where it came from, and we know that we're doing things, but not, it just, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Correct.
I didn't see, my last question, I promise. I didn't see unified sports in here anywhere. Do we know if that's,
Oh, I didn't make any changes to the last budget. All I did was use more school choice money. So, and I don't think I have, because that wouldn't be submitted by, I'm trying to think of who would
I
submit
didn't
that.
see it when I looked through it, but I know sometimes it,
Yeah. Oh, well, specifically, what were you looking for? Because actually, you did ask that before, and I did answer it before. I
we
think
had
it was
uni-
transportation and supplies, I
Right, well,
believe,
so
yeah.
we did have that last year, we had unified sports, but it was under high school, I think,
Yeah, that's where I get it from.
I just want to
yeah.
make sure I know that,
Yeah, I don't have everybody's detailed budget with me.
I know that
That would be up to
there's-
the schools to budget that.
Well, I think special ed,
It could be in
That-
special.
but I didn't see it, and I know, Susan's doing a wonderful job trying to,
But Susan didn't submit, that was
Yeah,
Dr.
that was-
Merrick's
Yep.
budget. so
right,
she-
so she didn't, right,
So
so,
let's go back and
Yeah,
look.
so I mean, I could answer that. We would have to, if it isn't, we'll have to address that later on, definitely. But I thought that when you called me when I was in my office,
Yeah.
I thought I looked it up, and I thought I did say there was transportation and supplies.
for,
I thought you asked about 24, though, too, no? I thought you did. No? Okay.
We'll go
no.
back
Okay,
and look.
I'll definitely let you know on that then. Yeah.
But if we approve this, does that mean that can't be added into
It can be
the-
added.
Okay.
We're adding something,
Yeah, I mean,
7
it,
seconds, potentially.
Okay.
okay. Yep, I'll let you know on that. I just have to pull the detailed budgets.
We added co-curriculars.
No, that's okay, I appreciate that, sorry. I
Oh, is that
know.
what you were talking about?
Unified sports.
Oh, I thought it was transportation and supplies.
So it was budgeted that way, so Unified Sports was originally going to go out, most towns, they go out and they would drive to Uxbridge and compete against Uxbridge, or go to Northbridge. We really didn't have like the infrastructure at the time to do that, so the kids were participating on site. And,
We did, though, we had transportation.
we did
and-
have it budgeted,
Yeah, we
but
did have
we-
it budgeted.
Let's look to see.
Oh,
what
okay,
documents
so you're
that
talking about the
put in budget.
transportation and the supplies, I'll look that up then, okay. Yep, I'll definitely check on that, because I thought you were talking about something
and
different.
I don't
Okay.
really know the
Yeah.
nuts and bolts and details, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure the kids have that program next year.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm all done now.
Oh, don't apologize.
It's a good conversation.
Okay. Oh,
So if
does
nobody
anyone else
has,
have any other questions? Yeah.
if nobody else has any other questions, we're
There's a
looking
pause
for.
there.
Yeah, I know, I forgot we
There's
did
a,
vote.
for a motion with the approved language that Courtney provided to us.
So I move to approve the updated FY 2024 general fund budget in the amount of $14,721,424. There's no change to the transportation budget.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by? Second by Julie. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thanks. Next is the appointment of the SEL Screener Grant Coordinator.
So let me just give people a history on that. In the fall, I applied for a grant through the Department of Education for an SEL screener. In short, what that means is it's different mini assessments we give students around depression, around anxiety, around signs of suicide, around a whole bunch of things, just to gather some information from it. The grant was in the amount of $25,000 for this year. It would have been great if we were awarded the grant back in October, but we were awarded the grant in February, March. As part of the grant, one of the things that DESE's doing is we just don't want to give schools money and not have some measure of accountability. So we got a mentor, kind of like American Idol. We got a mentor trainer, a gentleman named John Crocker from the Methuen Public Schools, who, so you know John, from the Methuen Public Schools, who has kind of helped us build along the way. So we've had 5 coaching sessions, and I went to the first 2 to 3 coachings. I've been to 3 of the 4, but the first few that I went to, I was the only superintendent. Everyone else either had an assistant superintendent or more likely an SEL director who was overseeing the grant. The language that needs to be used to kind of do a lot of the work that John wants to do is beyond the scope of what, I was never a BCBA, I was never an adjustment counselor, so it was difficult for me to gather that information, to assess that information, to gather data on it and report out on it. So one thing that came out of it was hiring, through the use of the grant funds, an SEL grant coordinator for this position. So that person would assist and has been assisting in gathering the data, accumulating the data, and going forward. One thing we're going to be doing as part of the grant is we're going to be purchasing a program called Panorama. I don't know how many of you have used Panorama, but the Panorama platform has 2 different platforms that we're looking at. The first one's an MTSS component, which what it'll do is it'll pull from iPass all of our attendance data, all of our academic data, our behavioral data. It'll pull in MCAS data. It'll also pull in STAR, NWEA, any other type of benchmark assessment data we have. The last piece it does is it gives every student an SEL screener based on the 5 CASEL competencies. And then it creates a dashboard. So then what we can do as a school is we can look to say, okay, how many students have straight A's, were never absent, who have 0 discipline problems, but scored low in self-awareness. And those might be your kids who have fallen through the cracks, who you may not see who are high achievers, but have an SEL. What it'll do is it'll give you the list by grade of who those 4, 5, 6 kids are. It'll identify them for you. And then the other thing it does is it gives research-based mini lessons of about half hour to 45 minutes on how you can address that skill, whether it's SEL, whether it's attendance, whether it's academics with the students. So through morning meeting, through advisory, we can do some of that work. The second piece is it is going to give additional screeners around anxiety, around depression, around signs of suicide, around alcohol, tobacco, drugs. We can screen kids with that, and then that'll also then tie into the MTSS data, so you can create profiles and look at the data. One thing the grant wants you to do is, where were we this year with some of the issues? And then now that we've been part of this grant, how have we grown? So someone who could start collecting that data this year. It's a 2-year grant, we just found out when I met with the DESE representative about 2 weeks ago. They still don't know what the dollar amount will be for schools next year. And they said, since we're doing everything we should be doing this year, there's a high degree of probability that we'll get the grant again next year. And the hope is that we'll find out in July or August, so we have the full year to do the data. So then what will end up happening at the end of next year is we'll have to report out the data. So this person will help oversee that. That was a real long story, I'm sorry.
No, I think this Panorama program sounds really great. My question is, how much does that cost? How much of the grant is that taking up? Because I'm wondering what's left over when kids are identified to put those extra supports in place.
So the tough thing about the grant was we have to spend the funds by June 30th.
Right, so how much are we spending?
So we have $25,000, whatever we pay for the grant coordinator, and 1 year of the program, $16,000.
Okay. So we think.
In addition, and they gave me a rough quote when I met with them. They said 16. I don't know what's going to get added onto that: shipping, handling, delivery, professional development, all the other things. So the majority of the grant's going to get eaten up by the program and
Yep.
the coordinator. Unfortunately, we won't have, the program is an 8-week turnaround for when we say we want to use it, so we won't be able to use this program until next school year. So any of the funds that's left over this year, we'll have to figure out what we do with them, but it won't be, we'll have to use them by June 30th.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is that something like we would consider so you think that you won't spend the whole thing?
I don't know,
I
don't know if
mean,
we'll
without coming up, really like line by line.
I don't know if we'll get to the exact $25,000 amount. We're probably going to come pretty close to it. I still need to get a quote from, they said the range is between $16,000 and $19,000 for the program. 16 gets you the base model, 19 gets you a couple other of additional features. So I want to see what the full amount is. I want to get a handle once it's approved on what we're going to pay for the coordinator. Then I want to see what's left over.
Do we have this person hired?
One person's interested in it.
And that's already-
And then we would have to write an amendment to the grant in order to change, because right now, the majority of the grant is going to be spent on the program. We'd have to write an amendment and get it approved by DESI.
Okay.
I don't want to spend too much time on this part, but just briefly, if you can say, based on everything that you just talked about, let's say that, so I guess what I want to find out is, one, is that something that a parent is going to have to give permission to do, like, to run this program on their child? It's just it's just going to happen no matter what. And again, you don't have to go into great detail,
No,
just
so-
on a surface.
So, using Panorama isn't any different than we currently use iPass. We store student data on iPass, name, address, grades, progress reports, report cards. We have all that stored on iPass. We use Open Architect, which is something that's done through DESI, which gives us the ability to look at MCAS scores and students and manipulate that information 100 different ways. We have a lot of information through the Department of Education on MCAS data that with student names that we're able to manipulate. So this is just taking all those different resources and storing it in one place. The other thing the grant's trying to do is demystify or destigmify testing and screening kids for social emotional well-being. We always have, we have kids MCAS tests, we give math tests, we give social studies tests, we assess kids all the time. But for years, before we ever did anything, we would whisper, can we talk to your child about depression? And we were whispering it. Well, what part of this grant's trying to do is, it's okay to talk about depression, it's okay to check on kids to see where they're at. And then if they do score a certain way, to call the parent up and say, hey, look, we just had a conversation with Beth today, we ran, an anxiety profile or a test thing with her real quick, just want to let you know, here's what we came up with. Schools are going now towards a passive consent when doing a lot of the assessments, but part of what they're trying to do is, just like we talk about obesity, just like we talk about smoking, just like we have kids take drug and alcohol surveys in
Scoliosis
school,
screening.
scoliosis, why do we just have those happen? But when we talk about depression, when we talk about anxiety, it's this huge consent form that's 4 pages long. So they're trying to change kind of the stigma around it and make it just, it's a normal thing for kids to talk about. And kids should feel comfortable coming to us, having those conversations, and then we should in turn be comfortable calling parents and having the conversation with them about what we talked about.
And I have a lot more questions in my head and a lot more things, but I guess another higher level question is the liability behind that. So let's say that we don't pick, again, I don't want to go too deep, but
Yeah.
let's say we don't pick up on something and then something happens and we're like, well, wait a minute, this program, why didn't it pick this up? And yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think, or even vice versa, where we're now telling a kid that they have all these problems and it's like, oh my God, my kid doesn't have this issue. How dare you?
Well,
And again, you don't have to go
So
too deep on that.
when we do signs of suicide, and for that, if a child scores in a certain range, we have to meet with them and we call the parent. The SEL competencies are all around grit, they're all around self-awareness, they're all around self-advocacy. There's nothing, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't anything there that, you can say, well, the kid doesn't have a lot of, this one student doesn't have a lot of grit, this one person isn't really self-aware of their surroundings and what's going on. I don't think there's a risk to that piece of it. But I do understand if you were doing something around, a screen around depression, and something clicked there, and we didn't follow up, there'd be liability. But I know that when our counselors do things, and I can just speak to the high school, they're the ones I've spoken to most recently, when they do things around the GAD-7, and they are doing things around anxiety, and they are doing things around signs of suicide, and kids score a certain range, they are calling the parents and having that follow-up with them if they hit. And every assessment's different, but there's a score, a range, a number, that if a child is there are certain things you have to do.
All right, and then my final thing to that is, and I'm not trying to diminish the significance of this opportunity, because I feel like there is so much going on that, like, we as parents don't see. And so the more tools we have, the better. So
Correct.
believe me, I'm not trying to diminish it. Those are the questions that I had in my head. I think it's a wonderful thing that we have an opportunity to explore and see if it works.
And hopefully we'll have it all next year. Staff will have access to it, teacher will have access to it, and they can even, within their own classrooms, play with it to say, okay, who are my kids who are high achievers? Who are my kids who struggle here? Who are kids who maybe have a lot of absences but have high grades, but scored proficient on the MCAS? So you can play with that data and start seeing different patterns within your classroom. So we'll have it for next year. Hopefully the grant will allow us to have it a second year. And then in FY26, if this is amazing, we can figure out how we continue to fund it.
Could even go into like how they plan their intervention blocks and
That's
stuff
exactly
like
what-
that at.
That's
like,
exactly what it would be used for. So when they're doing interventions, I talked to Mr. O'Brien about beefing up today his SEL block. They could use a lot of that information there. Elementary school can use some of it for morning meeting, but intervention block at high school. But also, even if you think about, a lot of the adjustment counselors or school psychs who are doing small groups with kids, it can help identify a pattern that we may not have seen, and then provide lessons for them to use. But we as a school have to also use the tool.
I think it's such a wonderful thing that our school has that intervention. Not a lot of people talk about that, but that is a really cool thing that we do for the kids in high school.
It is.
Where they meet with their peers and teachers. Like, I just don't hear a lot about it, and I just think it's an awesome thing that we do.
It depends on who you talk to. Some kids love it, others
Yes.
don't. It's, like anything else, and you need the buy-in from it, but there's a population of student and adults who love that block for what it's for, and that ability to make connections with kids, and that ability to make connections with kids who you don't see on a regular basis and you may not have as students. So that intervention block is great. Sometimes I hate to change intervention advisory, so I apologize, but that's the advisory block. The intervention block is that block for kids to come in and get that extra help and do stuff, which is also.
I think I probably meant
Definitely,
advisory then.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what I'm referring to.
I flipped them many
Yeah,
times
okay.
too.
That's what I meant. But still, it's the same thing, where you're getting together with your peers and a teacher in a more intimate environment and talking about things that maybe you wouldn't talk about, so.
Which is great.
Building relationships are so important.
It is.
The other thing, I have a question, we're doing this right? Okay, so it says 8 weeks for 3 hours per week, is there gonna be, since there's not 8 weeks left before the
Well,
21st?
She's already started doing some of the work, so if you look at the motion, it's retroactive back. We would try to frame and give a frame as to approximately what the cost of it would be. So the motion's to approve the SEL Screener grant from February 1 through June 20th, 23, or the last day of school.
Right.
In other words,
Well, I
making it
guess,
retroactive.
Are we going to get this time devoted to this one way, whether it looks like the next several weeks or whatever?
So they've already done some work, and they're going to continue to do work through the end of the year.
So it will be a total of 24 hours, or just around that?
Give or take.
Give or take.
Any further discussion? You're looking for a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of a SEL Screener Grant Coordinator from February 1, 2023 through June 21st, 2023, or the last day of school. The staff member appointed will receive their regular per diem hourly rate for hours worked and documented.
Motion made by, not Teresa, by Beth, seconded by
Teresa.
Second by Teresa/Monique. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining?
Thank you for that. We're excited to see what we do with it
That's a
next year.
really good. Moving on to the FY '24 non-union rates and salaries and administrator salaries.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Okay. Just as I do every year, it's a little bit earlier, usually I kind of can't get it done until June. So we're bringing forward the administrative, the central office and business office, salary positions, and all of the other non-union, the administrative assistants, school year secretaries, and also the technology, along with the other additional things that we have, like tutors, substitutes, and then the summer school as well, that we need to get done, certainly before we start summer school, which is coming up pretty soon. So we have proposed 3% for administration, and throughout for the other categories as well. And the only other change that I did make because of minimum wage, even though by law we're not required to comply with a minimum wage rate, certainly you're not going to get anybody to come in and work if you're unless you're paying the minimum wage. So I did update, you'll see the substitute rates, that's on the 4th page. Those substitutes, we have school administrative assistant substitute, paraprofessional substitute, ABA substitute. You'll see I did increase that $1 on each of them. So to bring up the 14 to 15, and then I did raise the 15 to the 16. And I did that as well on the last page for the summer school, same thing, paraprofessional substitute, the same changes for the paraprofessional substitute and ABA, from 14 to 15, and then 15 to 16, to address that minimum wage issue. We didn't make any changes on the nurse sub.
For a long time.
We didn't make any additional changes to the teacher sub rates. If you recall, the teacher sub rates, we did, as you can see, we did make a change in FY '23, and that appears to be working out well. We also changed that structure, too, a few years back, which when Kevin Maines was here, which was good. Didn't make any changes to the tutor hourly rate for bachelors and masters. And we didn't make any change to the summer school rates either. So in reviewing those rates, that seems to be going well. And as we kind of mentioned earlier, and as Dr. Viera and I had mentioned last year, as far as all of the non-union, this was kind of we met with everybody last year, as you know. We did make some changes last year. We added a step to the technology and secretarial staff, as you recall, last year. But the first 3 steps, they only got 1.5%. It's that 4th step that we gave the 3% to, just to get them merged a little bit, And then this year, we're proposing a 3%. And again, as we have been talking to basically everyone, whether it be administration and the other non-union staff, we are just trying to, ease towards, we're not anywhere near comparable for the area. I want to make sure we state that as well. And also, the other thing that we've done, as you know, is we've been preparing all the job descriptions for the positions, and we also have an evaluation tool. I have 2 more that I have to do, the school year secretary position, the network technician, and then we also have Paul and I will be introducing that to them as well, in evaluation as well, for going forward.
So I just want to make a comment. So
Yeah.
I know that we're not anywhere near, I know, in terms of what we pay. But we also don't get a typical money amount, from the town, like other towns do. We're not set up the same as other towns. So we have to be careful when we say that, because we can't do what other towns do because we're not set up the same way. So
And we're
I
nowhere
think-
near what other towns do.
Right, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we're not set up the same way as those other towns are. So, I know it's kind of tricky here to kind of figure all this out. We want quality staff. We want to retain our quality staff. I mean, definitely, we want to do that. But we also have to be careful because we don't have the funding that other towns have, you know
Well,
what I
actually,
mean?
the
So-
town did have funding to do just what you stated that we can't do for all of the town staff, that they
Right,
have
but
done that, yeah.
I mean, I can't wave my magic wand and say, you need to give us this much money, and they're gonna give it to us. It's just,
But again, we're nowhere near that though either.
There is,
Yeah.
I understand your point.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are some communities in the valley who are at the, if you take the 10, 12 schools in the valley, who are on the higher end of the continuum. In the top, let's say 20%. We're in the
Oh,
bottom.
yeah, we're not looking
in the
at that.
bottom
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah.
Those communities in the top 20%,
Yeah.
in the higher 20%, have a tax base much higher than we'll ever
Oh, yeah.
ever see in
We're not
any of our
talking about that.
lifetimes
Yeah.
here in Douglas.
Yeah.
We're not looking to get to the Milburys, the Graftons,
Nowhere near,
and that,
Yeah.
the Milfords to that community.
Yeah.
We're looking to get
And we
just about.
won't be, to your point.
We're looking to get just about to the middle. An interesting number that I pulled out, not for this, but for something else I was working on, for another meeting I had today, and I think it's really interesting, and I shared this with the leadership team today, and they were floored. I went on School Spring yesterday, and I just looked at a search for jobs that were out there. Did a 25-mile radius of Douglas, which isn't huge, you're probably talking 10, 12 communities. For administrative openings, there are 96 administrative openings. This one, no one guessed
I
anywhere close.
wouldn't have been anywhere
What-
near.
What do people
Yeah, I would-
think
Yeah, I'd like to hear
for
what they
teacher
think.
openings
Yeah.
within a 25-mile radius of Douglas that are open as of yesterday on School Spring?
Probably close to
500.
What?
She said 5.
Yeah,
I'd say 350.
I said 3. I was being conservative.
832 openings.
That doesn't surprise me at all, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it did shock.
It did shock. It's a high number. And then if you look at instructional
Yeah.
support, it's a little higher. It's 891.
I mean, while we might not have the same funding structure, we have to compete with all of the
Those,
surrounding towns, and I'm going to take the job that pays me more.
Oh, we can't move forward.
Right.
We
Or can't-
absolutely,
so
we're going to go backwards. We
We
can't
need
move
to figure out a
forward,
way
you
to
know?
be at least
Yeah.
comparable and not at the very bottom.
But your point,
Yeah.
Amy, is
I mean, we're not
lost.
looking
We-
to- yeah,
We're
yeah.
never going, like, if
Oh.
you look at the upper end,
Yeah, we'll
you look at the
never,
Blackstone
yeah.
Valley, you're looking at
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Millbury, you're looking at Grafton, somehow Milford gets lumped in, we're never going to reach that dollar value for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you look at, and the analysis was just done for the non-union personnel, when it comes time to do negotiations, we'll look at everyone else. If we're not last, we're second to last. And we're just looking to get to that slightly higher to be able to obtain and retain people. We've seen it firsthand, and you've seen the backlash of it. When you flip
Yeah,
and you don't have the continuum,
you lose that stability.
you lose the stability
goodness.
and the momentum as a result of it. And, you know,
And it costs a lot more money, even.
you know,
In the end, you know,
but
yeah, it costs
people-
more money.
You know, people.
Yeah, it costs more money.
There's an attraction
Yeah.
to come here for a whole host of reasons, and some people are willing to say, hey, I'm willing to take that $7,000, $8,000 pay differential from being in point A to point B in order for what we have to offer. But again, if it's only $6,000, $7,000, sometimes the difference is $20,000, $30,000, $40,000,
Yeah.
$50,000, and that's a lot of,
Yeah.
it's a lot of money.
Do you know off the top of your head, and you may not, but what are typical town school department budgets percentage of the overall town? Like,
I don't know that.
I just would be interested to see, like, you know, how much percent we are versus,
You could probably look at the pupil spending
Yeah.
as an example, but
Yeah.
that's dependent on each town, like how much money
Right.
the pupils, there's a lot of factors in that, the
Right.
town size.
And it's also what our budget is and what the town supports. So I don't have
Yeah,
the math in front of me,
operating, what we
but
need
our
to
operating
operate the
budget's
school.
18.
Right,
But what the town
right.
gives us is closer to 14.5, 14.6, 14.7. So you have that back and forth. In some school departments, transportation's included as part of their budget. Here, transportation
Is not.
But it doesn't count
is
towards
not.
net school spending, so that's
So
why most
it-
of them take it
yeah,
out,
So
yeah.
you just, so.
It doesn't
it's-
count,
it's-
yeah.
It's tough to compare apples to apples
Yeah.
because the way different towns operate.
And we're a bedroom community, we don't have the tax base.
Right.
That's the key right there. We're a bedroom community. unless you do another override,
Right.
we're not going to get those dollars until you get a business base in here.
In which the town has made some,
They were making
absolutely made some
strides.
They
strides
were
with
making
that. and-
strides in my parking lot
Yep.
today for that. Yep.
Yeah.
For the gas lines and the sewer lines.
So that should help. We're hoping that, and it has been indicated from staff on the town side, that some of that will start kicking in FY '25. So that's another reason why I'm kind of, hopeful for going forward for the future, that we can get out of this rut of, telling people you're going to get 0%, 0.5%. It's just, in today's market, we can't change the market.
Inflation.
But you can't keep doing that 0.5 and 0. It just isn't going to work anymore.
It's not fair.
Well, it's not fair either.
I wanted
yeah.
to address the substitute thing. I know it's just something that we talk about every year. But I just want to give an example. And I hope the person that I had this conversation with isn't listening, but maybe it's good. So there was a teacher that was out, and the teacher said to the friend, hey, there's a whole bunch of people that are out. Why don't you come in and sub for a little while? And she's the perfect person to sub. I would want her as a sub for my children. And the response was, for $100 an hour, for $100 for the day, it's just not even worth it. Is there a way to maybe increase the substitute? I mean, it seems to be that is a problem. At some point this year, there was a lot of teachers out and it was hard to find subs. They said that it was very hard to find them.
Yeah, actually, this rate is not, I know what you're saying, if you divide it out by 7 hours, but if you look at any town around, these are sub-rates. I mean, definitely it was low for many years, and we did make the increase, and we did that thing with the 60-day, 90-day. So after 6 days, it goes up to 120, and then after 31, so at least we had that, where before it was just what it was,
But you
I
may
do
get,
think
you
that
may
need
get
that
more
change.
people, just even with a little bit
Yeah.
of an incremental increase.
You do, so what I've seen historically with subs is, we advertise on School Spring. We're not, I've been doing subs now for 20 years, even more than that. There's always a battle trying to get subs.
I think that's
it-
every
it's been-
district.
Yeah.
I did it for 6 years as an AP, 10 years as a principal. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always a struggle. You up your sub rate, and then you get an influx of people who will come in and do it for 2, 3, 4 months. And then what happens is you have the same exact conversation. For $120, I'm not going to do it, I could go somewhere else. Then you see it fall off the table. Then you increase it again to 140, you get a bunch of people that come in for 3, 4, 5 months, and they say, we're not going to do it. We can't
They
even
are more
get,
comparable, though, the rates.
we can't even get people to apply to be a sub. We don't put the dollar amount on there. So I could see if we had 100 people applying for a sub, and we interviewed them, and 95 said, I'm not coming in for 100, we can't even get, we could up it to 200, and we may not even have the people apply.
I think that people, because there are several many towns
But
out there, they're paying over $100 for a day, that to even consider the $100, they probably look right past that on School Spring, and, because there are so many other towns that are paying over $100.
Oh, we don't put our rate out there.
It's not on School Spring, so they don't even know what the rate is when they apply.
But I
Don't
know
even
what
come
you're
for the
saying.
interview.
I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree, but I'm just thinking there are those moms that are at home with their little children that they would love to just have one day, but to go and have their child be taken care of by somebody else temporarily, they're paying almost $100,
Yeah,
So
we
it's like,
can't- yeah,
the
that we
trade-off is, well, I get to be with adults and kids and stuff and deal with my profession, but at the same time, it's just $100.
Yeah.
It's just a decision.
It's,
But I understand your reasoning, and it makes sense.
and you up it to, 120 for that first day, and you have that, cascade throughout the rest of the thing. $20 divided by 7 ends up being an extra $3, $2.50 an hour.
You lose contact.
But sub pay, you're right. Sub
It is
pay-
kind of,
is-
I have
it's a
thought of
good-
it.
it's a
It
great
is an
discussion.
interesting kind of thing. It's always, I hate to use these words, they're not allowed in my office, like the reason why you do things, but it's the way it's always been, like sub-rates have been. And you know why I think a lot of times it is that you're either, because I did some subbing when I was an at-home mom. You're either at home, you want to get out a little bit, it's not so much about the money, or you're actually trying to work towards teaching, so it's not about the rate at all, getting your teacher's license.
I mean, I subbed when I was getting my master's. I subbed to get some experience. My son subbed when he came home. For Christmas break, it was a good way to $400 or $500 to go in and sub for a week, for 3 weeks. And he knew it was stuff when kids are coming home for Christmas, for the holiday break, and then at the end of the year. You know you can always get a job subbing, a school's never gonna say no. You come in, you get some professional experience, and it's a decent wage. But to your point too,
Yeah, it's kind of a
people
funny
aren't
thing.
earning, people aren't subbing as a way to fund,
Yeah, to find, yeah.
to fund the house.
I appreciate the explanation, I just wanted to put it out there.
Can
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, we take,
just,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
What's the minimum wage in Massachusetts?
11.
15.
So even if they work 7 hours, that doesn't even meet minimum wage at $100.
Yeah, but I don't think that they are
They're working 7
not in the
hours.
same, yeah.
They're kind of like waitresses?
No, I'm wondering if they're,
Yeah, they're not even minimum wage, so we need to
They
look
should
at
at least
that.
make it minimum.
yeah. Remember, we're not, yeah, we're not, you know.
I know we're quote
Yeah,
unquote,
no, I know.
but-
But if we increased, to equate that, we're gonna have a rate that's like 3 times more than everybody around us.
But is that a bad thing, Courtney?
No, I'm just saying, it's just,
It would, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
No.
Minimum would be 105 a day.
So the only reason why I commented is
no, we
because
had
if you look at the
per
summary,
hour,
it's
per
$25 an
hour.
hour.
If
Yeah, it would be-
$15 times 7 hours
Yeah.
is 105.
so it's $5 difference.
I mean, I am doing old school math, paper and
know,
pencil,
I
so.
know.
we could,
I'm
you
willing to
know,
be
if you
wrong.
wanna, okay, you know.
I'm doing paper and
Okay,
pencil.
you know
just
what, I was
cracked it,
thinking
I'm
of
like, it's
something
like
else,
14
yeah.
something.
I mean, if you know, we could do that to at least, you know, like the $5 above for each one, or,
I mean, we
you know?
pay minimum wage. I'd like to
Yeah.
just say that.
Yeah.
For our substitutes.
I mean, we could do that.
I mean, like I said, if they're knocking
Let's
down
see.
our door, that might help with some of the other stuff, you know, that we hear and we see, like, you know, people, you having to go into classrooms, you know, so anything that we can do there, I think this, to me, just makes sense.
So do you want to do the 105 for
What do you all
the first category, and then 125, 135, 145? You could do
That's
that.
a good compromise.
Okay.
And that's why discussion's important.
There we go.
And it may
It is a weird
may or may
thing.
not do anything.
It is a
but,
weird
you
thing.
know,
It's always been kind of
It's-
funky. Yeah.
Something.
But at least we can say we're doing that.
Again, I just want to
Yeah.
be
We
fair.
pay over
and-
Yeah.
$100, there you
Yeah.
go.
We pay over 100.
And it's only like a
minimum
marketing
wage.
strategy, right? You know, that too, yeah.
It's, again, I just,
And as you can see,
And that was not going to break the bank or anything, you know, yeah.
we're
Yeah,
looking at
that's
numbers
fine.
1,000 different ways.
I-
Sometimes you miss one, so we never,
Again,
we
it's
never
just-
even, we had the conversation about sub pay. We never even, like, do we increase it, do we not increase it? We never looked at it from the lens of the minimum wage.
Yeah, not for this one,
And
no,
not and
'cause
not
it's a-
for other
yeah,
ones we did, but
yeah.
it's a good point.
So does anyone want to make a motion for,
can I ask a question?
Sure.
oh, sure. Yeah, we want to do one motion with
The
Jeff.
food service director,
Do we not have one?
So you, what's your question?
it's vacant?
Oh, yeah, so, yep, so she gave her notice, she's actually going to go to work for Worcester, as, it's, because Worcester's 48 schools. So she just wants more, you know, more of everything, you know, like more
Congratulations to her,
excitement,
but
more
also
things, and.
She did a
The
wonderful
48,
job.
she did, she did a wonderful
It was
job,
wonderful.
and it'll be a
I-
really, a huge pay increase for her,
That
too.
was,
Yeah, but that didn't say, she did do a wonderful job, and actually, I was going to interject when Paul was talking about the, how long it takes to, we talk about what the sped, so I advertised immediately. Over the weekend, I saw they had, I had 2 applications, they were good ones. I called Monday morning to come Thursday. The next day, which was yesterday, I got another really good one. I called him right away when I came in the morning. He's coming into, I have 3 interviews, boom, 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 tomorrow. Because you can't wait, is the point
No,
I'm
you
bringing up.
can't.
You can't wait even a day.
We had a great,
You know,
we had a great
But,
conversation a week
yeah.
and a half
No, she
ago
did an excellent job, yeah.
with Raquel. She came from a large school district. Came to a little.
Mm-hmm. City, yeah.
City.
Yeah,
She missed, she missed the juice. She missed
Yeah.
the energy
hub,
of
put it.
the hub,
Yeah.
the buzz of working
Yeah.
in a city with 40, 50, 60 schools going
Million
from
things
point A
going
to
on,
with
you
a
know,
thousand
yeah,
things. And
yes, yeah.
here we have a lot going on, but it's a little bit more, well, it depends on where, but
Yeah.
she missed the bus.
Our loss is Worcester's gain.
Correct.
And it
She was
is a
awesome.
good, it is a
She
huge
did a
increase too
wonderful
for
job,
us,
though. I
so,
mean,
yeah, she
kudos
did.
to her. I mean,
She
she
did,
came
yeah,
in and
yeah.
like got the grants for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can continue that with
Yeah.
whoever
But the
else.
the whole
She did a
management
revamp.
style, so I am going to be, when I interview, I'm gonna make sure, and when I pick someone, that I want the management style to continue, because, and kudos as well, not only to Raquel, but to the staff as well. Because, you know, they got right on board. I've seen a huge, I mean, you know, improvements
different.
all throughout. I think it's just, and it's kudos to really everybody, because it's a two-way thing.
I bring my
You
lunch
know.
5 days a week. Sometimes I go to the cafeteria just to pop in and see what's going on. I'm like, hey, what's for lunch today? Like, oh, you're gonna see what we have. And it's not uncommon that I have a double lunch, because I'll eat my own lunch, and then, and it's good. They did a great thing, a couple,
The chicken stir fry?
yeah, they did
stir
chicken
fry.
stir fry, and then they did one with rice and one with noodles, right? But what they did is they put it in the little paper containers instead of the plates, and just the marketing
Oh,
of
yeah.
putting it
Oh,
in the
yeah,
paper
yeah.
container,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it sold like wildfire.
yep,
And it was good.
yep.
Very nice.
Middle school portions, you know, for adults, could have been a little bit more. I could have had a double lunch, but we'll leave that. Scott knows.
But it has some excitement too for the kids, you know,
kids are
getting it in a
excited.
container like
And
that. I
I'll
mean,
say
it's nice to, you know.
More often than not,
Yeah.
I'll go in there and just to say, like, what's for lunch? Oh, that looks good, that looks good. And I'll have a double lunch. What she's done in terms of the quality of the food. And you know, we're still serving our hot dogs, our hamburgers. You know, we still have the staples that kids like. But some of the fun
Different
things she's
things,
trying
yeah.
trying
Different
is
things,
is
yeah.
awesome. Has been.
And also, she worked with the principals really well.
Breakfast
She, you know,
program's good.
looking for different, oh, not just principal, but even for academic type things to try to do. And then there were more things that we were talking about doing, because I've always wanted a garden.
I know.
I want a garden. But remember right before, you know what, that
Sounds
C
like a
word.
great middle school activity.
Yeah, it's
To help
great for,
with the
oh,
SEL.
I would love to have a garden. I would love to have a garden. Because remember, we did talk about that? And remember, we had that lovely young lady from the elementary school come? And she brought that plant, and she talked about and then you know what hit. But she did a wonderful presentation. I get
in the
so
middle
excited
school
about
now.
having a garden.
Like an after-school program.
The
Yeah.
high school has a horticultural club, too.
That's, name's been changed, I think, a half dozen
Ah,
times.
yeah, I
I don't know what
Yeah,
machination
I don't
of it
know
we're
what,
at.
yeah.
But that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
But she did some really cool things. I mean, even things for growing lettuce and different things, and I showed her something that one of my cousins down in Virginia had purchased, that you can grow lettuce and it kind of grows in this really cool thing. I thought, oh, the kids would love that, but, but anyway, yeah, it's definitely a loss for us, but a gain for Worcester. And, looking at me, she really implemented a lot of wonderful things, and I'm hoping that we can, I definitely want to continue, so, yeah.
I know.
So keep your fingers crossed for tomorrow. Tomorrow. So, does anyone else have any other questions, or
I just,
want to make any other?
I worry about and I know we don't have a lot of money, but the nurse sub rate, we haven't increased it in a long time. And it's really, 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 really imperative that we have
Oh, yeah.
subs. Is there
Yeah.
any wiggle room to increase?
Does anyone have any recommendation on that, or any thoughts?
I think
I
like
don't even know what a going rate.
I don't know what a going rate for.
Yeah.
like 160, 180.
I know since
But,
the
yeah.
pandemic.
I mean, 180,
and
but,
They're in demand.
They are in high demand.
You know,
yeah. And let's see, so if we look at that.
Well, what's their hourly rate?
it comes out to $20 an hour. And we're,
Yeah, the hourly
I
rate would
think
definitely be more than $20 an hour.
could we,
Can we revisit it?
yeah, can we do
I-
like an
An analysis?
Yeah, just to see what.
I understand the
Yeah.
rationale behind doing it. I
Oh, yeah,
just don't-
the increase, but the amount of the increase, maybe we get
Yes.
some more data, and we can
Yeah.
bring that on June 7th,
I agree.
I just don't want to,
no,
No,
I want to be
yes.
50% higher than.
No, I want to make sure it fixed.
Yeah, okay, so
I'd like
let's,
to
I'll
table
make
it
sure I
for
make a
now
note.
until-
Yep.
We just have to
Yeah.
do that.
So we're going to table this and we'll revisit this at the next meeting. So moving on to the students' rights and responsibilities, the JI policy update, and it's the third reading.
Okay, so this is a third reading and approval if the school committee is in agreement. This came down from, I know it's the third reading, I was like, I can't believe I'm stuck on it, but the USDA requires school districts to include meal modifications in the civil rights policy. So we did provide all the backup, the current policy that we have, the recommendation to add the recommended language there as number 6 to policy JI, which is student rights and responsibility.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
So I will attempt this one, but it is a lengthy one. So I move to approve the following language to be added to as number 6 to the JI Student Rights and Responsibilities Policy 6, pursuant to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's USDA Non-Discrimination Regulation 7 CFR 15B, as well as the regulations governing the child nutrition programs pertaining to meal modification 7 CFR 210.10M, SP 59-2016, and FNS Instruction 113-1. As amended, substitutions to the regular meal will be made at no extra cost for students who are unable to eat meals served in any child nutrition program, CNP, because of their disabilities. Any student who needs a meal modification for their school breakfast and/or school lunch must have a documented meal plan with the food service director and school nurse.
Motion made
What
by,
a mouthful.
I know. Motion made by Teresa, seconded by? Second by Monique. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thanks. Okay, moving over to the school business and operations manager's report.
Okay, so what I have. Okay, so first I have lots of transfers here. I have 2 transfers that were requested by administrators. To cover some purchase orders they had to do. Yes. Any questions?
No questions? I'd be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2023 general fund budget transfers. School
Motion.
committee meeting, May 17th, 2023, sorry.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by?
Teresa?
Seconded by Teresa. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And next I have from the auditors, Melanson, they do this was for the FY 2022 end-of-year report audit, DESE end-of-year report audit, and there were no findings. Everything was fine. And the new thing is you used to just get those first 2 pages, but now they're required by DESE to do all those other pages, which I included as well. That's brand new this year. They have to go through every single, the compliance supplement, which is issued by DESE, and go through every one and give the agreed upon procedures and the results. So you have all that extra with that as well, but no findings at all. So that was good. Any questions on the audit? And I just made a note, because I forgot things have been a little crazy lately. I will get you all a copy of the end of the year report, and I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Would you make a motion to approve it?
No.
We're good. And then next is the FY '23 general fund?
Yeah, this is just, because remember before we had the transfers and reclass that hadn't been posted yet, so I just provided you with another report.
Another update.
And again, this has been, I feel like I keep saying this, but it's been a rough year. So when you look at that, that's all I'm gonna say. If you look at that bottom line number, That's going to change dramatically when we moving things. We're going to be paying more of the electricity out of the general fund and that between now and June, and we have been as well, since this was run. So, but the good thing is we are in the black, so that's a good thing. But as you know, with the year end, there's a lot of movement. And that's all I have this evening.
Any other topics not anticipated?
We're good.
Anything else? Then I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the school committee meeting at 8:30.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Monique. All those in favor?